Good morning. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to the Jaybefaunt Show. I am your host, Jaybefaunt. I would like to welcome all of you here to my channel. The Jaybefaunt Show is also available on some major podcast platforms like Anchor, Apple, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. You can subscribe to them on there. I'm a part of the Revolutionary Blackout Network. You can find me on the JB Show on Sundays at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on RBN. Please make sure to give this video a like. And if you are new to the channel, please make sure to smash that subscribe button. If you do, I promise you cookies, maybe. Well, it's the thought that counts, right? I want to give a shout out to my patrons on Coffee. Thank you for your additional support. And please know that I am deeply appreciative and humbled by your contribution. And the people who have subscribed to me on Coffee, I'd like to give a thank you to David Michael, Chris Renata, Socials Cayman, Rebecca, See the Change, Robin During, Michelle D. Village, Spunky Wombat, Robin, Eric Thomas, Carrie Matthews, and Paco Mendoza Gomez. And for my Anchor supporters, thank you to Anthony Fazio and Jeffrey Kramer. I want to give a shout out to everybody that's also in the chat today. Good to see everybody here. And a lot of people are here are just regular. And so my regular family, so good to see all of you here today. And thank you so much. Franco, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me on, James. I'm really excited about this. Last time I had you on, I was with Nick and Savvy Sabs. That was a great conversation we had. So I'm really looking forward to this. You have a great radio voice. And I'm seeing a lot of mutuals there in the live chat. It's great to see War Deer, Whatever Man, and all these other people, Kill Jones. So yeah, great audience that you have already.
Yeah. And I got the, you know what? I'm shocked and surprised and humbled that people are willing to listen to whatever I have to say, because like I'm just a schlub in his bedroom in Central Florida, that's, you know, with very little resources. And so it's like the fact that people actually want to listen to me is humbling. But at the same time, it's such a huge privilege because I'm not only being listened by people, but by brilliant people who know a lot that help me to learn a lot too. So I love it.
They know that you're gonna keep it real, right? Not unlike these people that have like all these fancy studios, or their parents paid for everything, or they started out at a bigger platform like on TYT or whatever.
Yeah.
So they're more, what do you call it, in a bubble, right? They're
True.
not as much aware of the struggles that working class people are going through. So
Yeah.
that's what attracts people to people like you.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I say it takes one to know one, and I appreciate that coming from you. You've been in this space for quite some time now. And actually that leads me to my first question that I actually wanted to ask you. You know, as the host of Franc Analysis and a member of the MCSC Network, can you give us a brief summary of how you got into that and what inspired you to move into the independent media space?
Awesome. Yeah. I was an avid listener since 2016. That's what, for a lot of people, that was the gateway for them to get more into politics. When I heard Bernie's message about how corporations control our politicians, but some people didn't keep it consistent. Like, if a candidate is being controlled by corporations, then that's not someone that we should be trusting. So it was disappointing for me to see people supporting Hillary Clinton. Since then, I kept listening to independent media. I was more attracted to smaller channels who at the time were people like Nico House, the Convo Couch. Jimmy Dore is someone, although he has a big platform, he said a lot of stuff that was relatable to people like us, working class people. So I also felt like around 2019 to 2020, there wasn't enough unity in independent media. And there was also a lot of confusion among more I guess we would call them normie people, people who are apolitical, don't pay enough attention. So I
Yeah.
wanted to help my friends out who had a YouTube channel and also a local podcast called Hear Me Out Podcast that talked about sports and pop culture. And I was like, hey, why don't we talk about all news? We can talk, or I can be your political guy. So I went on, and I would make videos about politics. I would go on the ground to events that were happening around DC, anti-war protests. I
Mm.
got to interview Medea Benjamin on the ground. Same with Anya Parampil. I saw Max at the time, but I didn't get to interview him. But I got to interview him later on as my platform grew. Um, so then the political stuff started overwhelming the sports and pop culture stuff on the channel. So I was like, all right, I should just start my own channel. So it's not, it doesn't, people don't get confused and think that HMO is just strictly a political channel and alienate some of the older audience members on there. So there on Franc Analysis, I did solo videos, interviews, panel discussions, and I've just been growing since then, and it's been
Mhm.
a fun journey. I went deeper into the rabbit hole than I thought I ever was gonna go. I thought I had more figured out back then than I realized, how corrupt things actually are. Um,
Mm.
so yeah, I'm happy with how things have gone.
Yeah. How many years ago did you start um, doing your show?
I started in Frank Analysis started in April 2020. I joined HMO in late January of 2020. So during
Okay.
the lockdowns is when I started learning how to use like OBS, how to make videos and everything, how to edit videos.
Hmm.
Then eventually I started streaming more. And streaming, as you know, saves a lot of time and
Yeah.
having to record a video, edit it, add a whole bunch of stuff. Plus, it's a lot easier for collaborations directly on there. You can interact with your audience members, and I think the audience members like it more.
Yeah. One thing I noticed was that, uh, and I like to call us the new left versus the legacy left. And when I say legacy left, you guys know who I'm talking about. The new left, we tend to do a lot more audience interaction, and we do a lot more, interaction with our viewers, which is something that you really don't see a lot of in the legacy left. With the people who started out, around 2016, between 2016 and 2020, they were, the big names, excuse me. And so they were more just upload and that was it. And then you saw the comment section. Now, for a lot of us, including all the members of the MCSC Network, people like Revolutionary Blackout, people like the INN, all of us are going, no, we're doing this on a regular basis because it gives us more of a direct link to talking to viewers who literally live regular lives. And we do not want to be in that bubble, so to speak. So we get to a point where we're always kept on the ground, so to speak, no matter what. And that's one of the things that I appreciate about the type of space that we hold is that we're always being kept down to earth by the audience.
Yeah, they help keep us in touch. They help keep us with staying in touch, as well as these collaborations. We're constantly hearing other people's perspectives.
Hmm.
Whereas before there weren't as many collaborations. The videos were shorter, like you were saying, uploads. It
Yeah.
was a different ball game back then. Uh,
Yeah.
Now it also saves a lot of time, like I was mentioning earlier. Just these streams, it's more interactive, and I think the audience members have more fun with it.
Hmm. Yeah. That brings me to my next question that I wanted to ask. So, You've been covering U.S. politics for some time and have observed many shifts in the political landscape as well as certain policies that have become popular. Can you give us a glimpse of your journey to the left, and what was one of the biggest lessons you learned that pushed you further left?
Hmm. Some of the things that pushed me further left.
Hmm.
Um, well, I don't know if I would say I got pushed further left, but I would say I got more aware of what's going on.
Hmm.
And then with that, some people chose to stay at a certain level of awareness, like where they didn't want to accept certain uh, certain narratives that go against what the mainstream says. Like for
Hmm.
example, with RussiaGate, right? A lot of people chose to believe it and they
Hmm.
just stay there,
Hmm.
whereas other people like myself, like you guys at Revolutionary Blackout, didn't buy that. And so
Yeah.
that, I don't know if that's like pushing us further left, but that is making us more aware. um so yeah, what do you think about that? And also,
Mhm.
yeah, just with anything that's been coming out recently, like these politicians not helping us out, it's
Yeah.
just us becoming more aware, for evolving more, whereas other people just stay stuck in like 2016
Yeah.
mentality.
I mean, you made a great point. I feel like a lot of the people who we used to have a tremendous amount of respect for in this space have faced a an epidemic of stagnation where they're presented with new information and they do not adjust to it. They do not acclimate to it and they do not accept it. And so therefore it feels as if we've been rolling down the road and they're still way back there,
Yeah.
basically in a busted car, and they have the new tire to change it so that they can roll with us, but they refuse to do it. And we're going down the road going, hey, you guys are still believing in Russiagate? Come on. We're past that. Or hey, you guys still believe in the Democratic Party? Come on. We're past that. And they still keep doing it, waiting for the Democratic Party as a tow truck to come and pick them up and move them forward.
That's a
But
great
that tow truck
analogy.
ain't coming. And that's the funny
Yeah.
part is that they still haven't realized it. And we're like, duh. And we're calling them on the cell phone. Bling. Hey, you guys are still back there? And that's what it feels like. It feels like, and we're driving slower in a sense, trying to help them to still see our taillights, but they're not moving. And so now a lot of us are starting to step on the gas and we're like, okay, we're leaving you guys in the dust. And this is one of the reasons why some of them, they seem like they have a lot of followers, but then when you look at their view counts, some of us are doing better than
Oh man,
what
yeah. A
tenth
lot.
of their followers or their
Yeah.
subs. And
For
they just don't get it. And then they get mad at us for doing what we thought that they were going to do the entire time.
Right, yeah. Proportionally, I've seen a lot of channels, some of them which have attacked you guys, channels that have over 100,000 subscribers. I don't know if you want me to name names on here or not, but I think you may have an idea of who some of
I
the
don't really
people I'm
care if you
talking
name
about.
names, but it's whatever.
Okay. So yeah, so like people like Tim Black, who was attacking you guys,
Yeah.
proportionally, Revolutionary Blackout gets more views than Tim Black now. 'Cause Tim Black has stayed stuck in this mentality, thinking that politicians may save us. I don't know if it's for some opportunistic reason, right? He can work in Nina Turner's campaign or something, but it was around that time, right, where he started attacking you guys because you guys were critical of Nina Turner, right?
Yeah.
How do we know that you're not going to be different from these politicians that we have right now that promised us that they were going to work for us, but rather they became careerists
Yeah.
working for Nancy Pelosi, having these grandstanding performances in front of the Capitol rather than actually fixing the problem and introducing legislation that isn't written by the lobbyists.
Yeah. And can you blame us for being critical? Looking at the
Mm-mm.
history of what's been happening all over this country, and yet you're blaming us, the ones who don't really have any power, for being critical of the ones who do have power, who actually have done the things that they've done to make us critical of that, it's like, why are you attacking the messenger, or why
Right.
it seems kind of counterproductive, doesn't it?
Right. Yeah, and it's we present evidence. So like here is like here's an example of how they're not introducing legislation. Here they're just here's evidence of how they're just kicking the can down the road rather than going at the root of the problem, right? So I don't know how deep you are in with the COVID research, but there's a lot of division now with those people. Like I feel like the gap has increased even further
It
with
has.
those people and people who are considered to be further left, to the point in which they consider us indistinguishable sometimes to the right because they call it a right wing conspiracy, even
Mm,
though there's plenty of scientific evidence to support why we have these, first of all, skepticisms in big pharma, but also caution against something that may have been, rushed out. But I
yeah.
respect people's decisions on whether they want to get it or not. And I
Hmm.
think your stances on revolutionary blackout are that it shouldn't be forced on people, right?
It shouldn't be forced on people, but I think people need to be educated about it.
Okay.
Um, People need to be educated about both options. I'll put it
Mm,
that way. And I know that seems like I'm fence riding, but at the same time, it's like I'm not for mandates, but I am for people being educated on options of the jab as well as treatment, uh, for other treatment options.
right.
I'm not going to say the name because they
Right.
is fidgety about that.
Yeah.
But I'm saying educate people on both and let people make the decisions wherever, as long as they're trying to protect themselves and stay safe,
Right.
right?
So
And so
informed
that's where
consent.
I'm at. Um, and so, but I do see this divide, and something tells me that there are forces that are under the current that are trying to keep the left divided, and they're
Of course.
using things like this in order to as a mechanism to cause more division, and that is where I'm trying to be cognizant of at all times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're definitely using this narrative to try to divide us even further, try to keep sides afraid of each other.
Hmm.
But I appreciate, that stance, informing people, educating them. And then after they've been educated on that, people can have a right to choose what they want to do based off of that information that's been presented to them or
Yeah.
that they've done for themselves also, right? I don't think information should be censored.
Hmm.
If something is incorrect, then introduce more information that debunks that,
Yeah.
right?
I think the information that comes out of institutions, I'm
Mm,
basically, covering my language a little bit, are based on this this need to keep capitalism going. And so therefore the decisions that are come out are basically influenced by that, right? And from what I observe is that the best practices are not always practices that are geared towards capitalism. Sometimes you just have to do the the I forgot it's called. I think it's called the Federal Production Act or something like that.
mm,
Um, where you just have to produce it, use federal dollars to produce it, and just give it to people. Like for instance, masks. Just you know, give it, produce it, and just give it to people, and just make sure that keeps being produced. If you have to pay a private corporation just to do it through federal dollars, then just do it and just give it to people for free. And yes, that'll take a mass mobilization. We have the apparatus to do it. Like for instance, we have the United States Postal Service that goes all over the country and just give it to people. Do not force people to have to buy them, because that creates a barrier for people to, that don't have the money, that they can't have them, or they can't have the most adequate type, of PPE. So it's things like that I think that sometimes it's not a capitalist answer that is sufficient enough. Sometimes it may be a socialist or a communist answer to answer for what we really need at times like a pandemic that is raging across the world. So,
Yeah.
um,
And then
yeah.
they're using these institutions that you were mentioning to try to fact check um, people's opinions when there was a court ruling or the case that Facebook was making when they were being sued is that they have protected opinion. So pretty
Mhm.
much these third parties um, that they hire to fact check people um, and to even fact check doctors and PhDs and stuff
Mhm.
are that's their opinion. Like so, fact checkers are op-eds. So that can be also true for fact checkers that try to quote unquote fact check articles that expose the U.S.'s foreign policy and how harmful that is.
Yeah.
And we see also who is behind sites like Wikipedia and who controls who can edit on there or not. And a
Mhm.
lot of these people are individuals that are connected to imperialist actors. So
Mhm.
these are the people that are controlling our narrative. And
Mhm.
they're really afraid of people like us. And that's why they keep ramping up censorship on small channels like us, making so the obstacles for us have gotten even worse for us. I think that if this was like 2017, the rate at
Mhm.
which we would be growing would be a lot faster.
Yeah.
So they're trying really hard to suppress that message that people like Revolutionary Blackout and Franc Analysis and the MCSC Network have, which is to move further away from electoral politics and more towards community building, mutual aid, and everything.
Yeah. And I think the problem that we see is people are so brainwashed into thinking that the capitalistic answer is the answer for all our problems, whereas we're seeing that's not the answer for really any problem at all. In fact, we're seeing that it leads to a lot of imperialism, and look at the carceral state, look at the environment. So we're coming to a conclusion now that uh, it's even it's even used in religion. It's used in politics. It's this chasing after the profit as to why the DNC and the RNC are the way they are, because they're always chasing after profit. Because it's like, well, like the Democrats go, the Republicans are doing this, go to Act Blue and donate to us today. They're trying to make profit. That's pretty much all it is.
Yeah.
It's a profit making company. The Republicans are the same way. They're profit making company. The thing is that it's never about what the people actually need. It's about what's good for my bottom line. And so I think the fact that we're running away from this also means that, they want to silence people like yourself and myself. They throttle our channels. I'm going to be real with you. And I talked about this with Sabby Sabs.
Hmm.
You should have 10 times more follow or more subs than you do right now.
Hmm.
We were talking about you in particular. And it's like, yeah, why doesn't he have that? Well, because the YouTube algorithm suppresses people who tell the truth that undermines their profitability.
Also, my channel is shadow banned and it's also demonetized. It got demonetized in less than 2 months, in which I was able to receive monetization, and I got multiple warnings and strikes. They just try to find any excuse, like saying like, "Oh, your video is too long, so we had to take it down." Warning: How is this too long? The
Too
video is
long.
only 20 minutes long.
too long.
Right. And
Hold up.
so that just makes me think that they're just coming up with any excuse to try to censor people. And they're targeting people rather than just targeting specific topics that people talk about.
Yeah, that's a whole lot of bullshit.
Yeah.
Reason being is because I have watched 2-3 hour streams that have ads on them. And so that's stupid. And they're full of ads. And so to tell you, oh, it's too long.
And then those 10-hour trolley videos, like where they show like Gandalf shaking his head to like saxophone music, right? Those are all over YouTube. How is it that they're saying that my video is too long? uh,
Wow, they really are. YouTube is trolling.
mm-hmm.
Let me,
With the January 6th stuff, I think that's when they started ramping it up more. That's when they
yeah.
demonetized Convo Couch, myself, Jamarl Thomas,
Mhm.
Graham Elwood, etc.
Yeah.
And now with the Rona stuff, the Rona, they were censoring people even more unless you put that little disclaimer at the bottom. I think that's been helping people a little bit. But for me, the latest strike that I received was for a video in which you guys at Revolutionary Blackout also had something similar to say, which was that Rogan and Sanjay Gupta interview. That video got deleted for me, but it stayed up for you guys.
Inconsistency too, but it's
Yeah.
wild, man. It's
I think
wild.
they just have their eyes on me. Uh, I don't know why. I guess I said some things early on that caught their attention.
They're jealous.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah,
so
F YouTube. What are some solutions to that? Like we talk about Rockfin, Rumble, but there's some shady stuff with Rumble also, like some shareholders like Peter Thiel and all that. What do you think? Do
you
you
know
see
what?
people moving away from YouTube eventually?
I kind of see it, but it's so. YouTube is basically the 800-pound gorilla in the room, and it's in a very small room, and it's almost like you try to get past it. I feel like YouTube is the only platform to use to shift people to other platforms
Yeah.
so that you can get them to watch on other ones. That's what it feels like. Um, so that's the only thing I can think of. Either that or we create our own. But if we try to create our own, then the big tech industry people will probably try to shut it down. I mean, gosh, look at what they're trying to do to Panquake.
Mm.
And Panquake's trying to be a different social media platform than any other. And they're going after them like crazy. So, and I'm pretty sure that Rockfin probably had, some issues, trying to start up as well. Because if YouTube gets wind of this, particularly Google, if they get wind of this, then they're like, oh no, you're not going to take this away from us. You're not going to make it so that, people have more freedom. Because then if they realize that, they're gonna drop us like last year's French.
Mm.
It's not gonna fare well. So, I mean, that's the only thing I can think of is just using their platform as a catalyst to bring people over to other ones.
Yeah. Yeah, well
So,
said. It's a tool that we're still using
yeah.
in order to, like you were saying, get some of these people that aren't informed about these other platforms to learn
Mm-hmm.
about it and to hop on there. I have a backup channel in case my main channel gets taken down,
Mm-hmm.
and there's also other ways in which if they get my backup channel down, in which there are other channels out there, lefty channels that have been taken down that had their backup channels also taken down, and they
Mm-hmm.
had to resort to pirate streaming. So just random channels with less than 100 subscribers or so, streaming on there. Audience members help with that sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
and then just in case some of these normies stumble upon the video, they're still watching it on YouTube, and then they learn about alternative platforms.
Got it.
So that's something like, just in case, if they ever take all of us down and our backup channels down, we can still stay on YouTube via these pirate channels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's sad that we have to do that, but it's just that's the sad state of affairs, especially when big tech. My next,
And
I'm sorry,
yeah,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. I was just gonna say, the ones that the channels that don't get taken down, those are the ones that are not that informative as we used to think.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, like Secular Talk and all those people,
Mm-hmm.
they're I don't see their channels getting taken down anytime soon.
Yeah, the Democratic Party cheerleaders. Um, what is one of the biggest learning curves that you had to learn while becoming a journalist in this space?
That obstacle we were just talking about,
Yeah, yeah,
because how are people going to find out about me if it doesn't reach enough people? And the key to that is what we're doing right now, which is collaborations.
yeah.
Not being afraid to ask people to come on the show
Mm-hmm.
for a collaboration, for an interview, panel discussion, whatever. And
Mm-hmm.
I've been seeing an exponential increase in panel discussions, since so many people have so many interesting things to say on those panel discussions.
Yeah,
So I'm loving that. So even though there are these obstacles, there are these fun ways that we are, and creative ways that we're trying to overcome them.
yeah, definitely. Panels I deeply appreciate because um, they they do what I love. Robert Durden says we do a cross pollination,
Mm-hmm.
and that cross pollination allows us to uh, see channels or hosts that we've never encountered before, and then we get to go over to them and see their perspective. Like for instance, um, you may want my perspective as a gay guy, but what about a black woman's perspective? Then you'll go to Sabby Sabs. Or if you want to go to Latino woman's, then you'll go to Blue Moon Red Wine.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you go to your perspective, you're kind of racially ambiguous, so I didn't want to say which one you.
I'm Peruvian. I'm also
Oh,
Latino. Yeah.
okay, perfect.
But yeah, a lot of Hispanic people are like racially ambiguous. Like, we're a mix of a lot of stuff.
Okay, but if they want to go to your perspective, then they can go to your perspective. And then they also have people who are more on the ground, people like Max Blumenthal,
Mm-hmm.
who are people who are on the ground and they want to get his perspective, or they want to see, somebody from like Status Quo, despite some of their opinions that I may disagree with, they do great work on the ground as far as their journalism goes.
I can give them that.
So there's so many different types that you have, and it's like a buffet, and it's like, I can pick this, I can pick that, and then we
Right.
stream so much throughout the week that it's like, who needs mainstream media when you got lefty media?
Yeah, Indie Left was telling me that he canceled all his subscriptions to like TV and everything.
Mm-hmm.
All he has now is like Patreon subscriptions and like Rockfin and all that he's paying for now. They're
Nice.
great. Like, we don't need these mainstream channels. They're going away, and that's why they're trying to adapt and evolve and turn the internet into network television.
Yeah, I was actually talking about this with Sabby again, and in private. But one of the things that I said is that they're trying to steal our space. And what do I mean by that? They stuck to network television and they stayed there and they were like, okay, this is our lane. This is what we're going to do. And what we decided to do was start doing, indie media in this space. And they didn't like that their audience, and I hate to be morbid here, but they don't like that their audience is dying off.
Mm.
And our audience is still young and we are growing in number. And even some of the older people are now gravitating to our space. And so instead of acclimating and switching things up to be more like us, they're saying, no, You have to be more like us. And then they push us out of our own house. And it's just like, wait, who are you? You were not born on the internet. Wolf Blitzer, you were not born on the
Yeah.
internet. Chuck Todd, you were not born on the internet. You guys were not. David Muir, you were not born on the internet. So therefore, you guys, if you guys started your own channel today, you guys would have very little subscribers because you guys are boring and you guys just read a teleprompter and you guys act like you don't have a bias when you really do. And so when we are like, yeah, no, you guys need to go back to where you come from and let it go extinct, they don't like it. So guess what? They come into our house, they take up the food in our fridge, they put their feet on our couch and on our table, and they're like, get out. And
You
now
have great analogies.
but that's what it's like. They're coming into
Yeah.
our house and they're telling us to get out. And we now have to go in different rooms in order to be able to stay in our own home. And it's like, why are we secluded to our room of Rockfin or a room of Rumble or a room of Odyssey or go into the bathroom of Twitch? Why do we have to do this? It's not right. But hey, you know what? The person who owns who owns the deed is like, nah, they're okay. They can do what they want.
Yeah, they're finding ways to evolve with the times. Of course, Wolf Blitzer can't carry on his own show, or any of these other mainstream pundits can't carry their own show like in their home, like with a studio. It would just be boring, like you would say. They would just be saying that everything is fine, that the only people that are the problem is like those crazy other working class people that you should be afraid of.
Yeah.
But one thing that we need to be careful of is what was exposed in a recent Gray Zone article, which I'm going to have Max Blumenthal on the show soon to talk about, is BreadTube, which uses young people and very charismatic individuals to give talking points that agree with the U.S. State Department or agree with what these Western imperialist countries want. Like that's what, if you listen to their foreign policy stances, they're not in disagreement at all with what the U.S. State Department wants. So they Abigail Thorne was just exposed in receiving money and instructions from these imperialist individuals. Who else could be involved? It wouldn't surprise me if someone who I had an interaction with recently behind camera, maybe, if there is some agreement that he has with his foreign policy and all his other takes, right?
Yeah.
And their growth is so inorganic, right? For
Oh,
us,
you telling
right?
me, bro?
Like 1,000-fold. They started their channels in 2019, 2020, and all of a sudden now they have over 100,000 subscribers. That's not normal at all.
Yeah, yeah. Especially if they're saying the same thing, they're allegedly saying the same things that we're saying, and they're not being throttled. But then you look at their foreign policy and they have these imperialistic takes. It's like,
Yeah.
wait, are you? You're not part of the left, are you? You know, and that's one of the things that we're seeing is that when we get smarter, then they finally realize what we're doing, and then they try to catch up. And now we're looking at them, we're like, we examine what they say, and we're like, huh. So you believe that the Palestinians should be oppressed, and you agree with the apartheid state in Israel?
Mm-hmm.
Huh, okay. Oh, wait, you actually think that Assad was gassing his own people? And you don't believe the actual report that came out from the OPCW? Okay. Or you believe that Russia is actually undermining our elections when this actually was brought out that they weren't? Okay, gotcha, Chief. And so we get to that point where we start to examine what they're saying, and we're just like, this motherfucker's an op.
Yeah, it's
You know?
it's mainstream. It's like news that you would get from mainstream media trying to pose as individuals like us, like in terms of like how it looks. Like they're in bedrooms and everything.
Hmm.
They interact with their chats. They're on Discord. So it tries to give that illusion to people. But unfortunately, a lot of these people, a lot of their audience members are individuals who were not informed to begin with, and so they believe it, and
Yeah.
they don't want to be too radical. Like maybe some of their audience members are just really comfortable with their way that their lifestyle is. They want the change without the actual change, right? They're not actually suffering like how individuals like yourself or others in Revolutionary Blackout or others that have
Hmm.
small channels are suffering, or
Yeah.
people who watch our channels.
Yeah.
So they think that we can just vote our way out of the situation that we're in. We
And,
can't do that.
and the crazy part is they will chop up our dissent to their imperialistic opinions as it's just a difference of opinion. No. It's not a
Mm.
difference of opinion. It's a difference of fact that you're playing off as opinion. And that's what gets me mad. It's like you're being willfully ignorant to actually what's going on, and you're trying to make it sound like it's just your opinion. And it's not. It's not. When you look at what's going on, for instance, with the Palestinians in Gaza and what's going on against the, with the state of Israel, then you realize that it's not just an opinion. When you realize what's going on in the global south, it's not just an opinion. When you find out what was happening with the United Fruit Company in South America, it's not just a difference of opinion. And that's the thing, is this revisionist history that continues to go on, including with some of these bread tube spaces that needs and deserves to be called out each and every single time, because they are trying to rewrite history as we speak. And so what are we going to jump on the train with congratulating Dick Cheney like everybody else has been
Oh
doing
my
in
god!
mainstream media over the last couple of days? Do we
And
know what he actually did? Are we
right,
going to pretend that Trump is the ultimate evil while not looking at the 40 years of what Biden did in order to facilitate that Trump actually was able to do? Are we not going to look at the fact that look at what George W. Bush did? I don't give a shit if he painted like Picasso. He's still a war criminal. Let him paint behind bars. Like what? So this is why I'm just like over all this bullcrap. I'm just like, what in the hell are you guys doing? But then at the same time, you look at the money that they get, and you're like, oh, okay,
yeah.
I got you. I see. Money is a great motivator within these spaces. I attest. But my question to them would be: is it worth your integrity?
And is it worth it in the long run? Also,
Yeah.
too much attachment to material, um, causing harm to people with your talking points, saying, "Oh yeah, we should go into Syria. We should stay in Afghanistan. Look how we're leaving so irresponsibly."
Don't get
Meanwhile, if they stay in the
don't get
U,
me
like,
started.
and in Africa, then what are we doing to those black and brown people there?
I don't care if China is building infrastructure for African countries. I really don't care. Because that means if the infrastructure is going to be better in African countries so that the people actually do better and things are actually more green while being better for them, shit, we're not doing it. We're bombing them instead of rebuilding their infrastructure. So who do I care? So why am I going to look at a channel where somebody who's deeply anti-China and talks about Chinese rhetoric? I mean, he talks about anti-China rhetoric. Why am I going to subscribe to him when they're not doing anything, worse than the United States has done?
Yeah, I gotta see just how bad, but a lot of the rhetoric that is used by the U.S. to attack China is so hypocritical, uh,
Yeah.
and a lot of these independent channels, like that you were mentioning, do repeat that. But there are, and the U.S. is trying to evolve into rather than having people on the ground, they're trying to maintain
Mm-hmm.
these wars going on without having them there on the ground with drones. I
Mm-hmm.
can't remember who it was. It's pretty. Let's just say it's pretty much all of them are in agreement with this. These politicians with moving away from having troops on the ground and focusing more on drone strikes, on collecting data from these poor people in other countries.
Yeah.
So I don't know how involved the U.S. and China are in these. Well, I know the U.S. is very involved in this. I don't know to the extent in how far China is involved in this,
Yeah.
but this is what we're moving into: is more surveillance. This fourth industrial revolution, where they keep us more indoors. These automatic cars that can one day drive you to the police station if you say the wrong thing in your home. Like we're living in 1984 right now. All these Black Mirror episodes are coming together. Like we see the metaverse, Elon Musk's Neuralink. So that is something we gotta keep our eyes open for.
Oh boy.
Right.
Keep our eyes open. Man, this is
And
great.
they're going to keep using, because they see that progressivism is becoming popular. They're gonna try to use uh, figures like AOC, or use figures like Greta, or anyone else that comes out in the future, to try to
Mm-hmm.
rally young people to support things that are really just a Trojan horse to further
Yeah.
advance the fourth industrial revolution.
That was a perfect example of using Trojan horse, because that's exactly what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate that. Um, man, I only have like 13 minutes left. Okay, so I got to get to my next question.
Okay.
Um, this is a hypothetical. Okay, so you are president of the United States, and it's January 20th, your inauguration day. Don't give me that look. I know this is gonna be a good one. What are your first three actions that you're taking as president within your first 100 days?
I will first state I have no intentions of killing myself.
Good one.
uh,
All right,
I'm
Ghislaine,
not
what you
depressed.
do before
I'm
that?
happy living. So I'll let everybody know about that.
Mm-hmm.
Then I will release all the documents that our intelligence wants to keep away from the public. And I will encourage people to keep informing themselves even after all these papers are released.
Mm-hmm.
I will let people know that if there's I will let people know that the reason why we stay in these foreign countries is because of the pressure of the military industrial complex.
Mm-hmm.
And I will do everything I can to remove troops from all these countries. And I will just do everything I can for as long as I can stay alive to keep exposing everything that's
Yeah.
wrong with the country.
Yeah.
Even
Wow.
if things do get blocked by all these powers and the people who are really in charge, who don't want to be publicized, I'll just keep exposing that. I don't know
Yeah.
what miracle got me elected. Maybe I was like a Trojan horse, a really good Trojan horse that
Yeah.
was able to get elected.
Look, when it comes to stuff like that, it's like you do the best you can, and then people will take over, and they'll keep the ball rolling. So, I mean, dude, you're truly a journalist, because the first thing you focus on is giving information to everybody. And I was just like, okay, cool. Definitely.
It's giving the people
Um,
freedom based off of what they know, right? Rather than keeping them controlled and telling them, "Oh, you need to do this. Us or your parent governments, we know best." They treat us like we're these babies that can't give informed consent on anything. We
mhm.
have to blindly listen to them, blindly trust them for why we get into all these wars and all the decisions that they make to try to surveil us.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said. Thank you so much for that. What is something you're going to double down on in 2022?
Democrats are losing. They're getting destroyed. I'm doubling down on that,
Mm-hmm.
on that claim that I'm making. Uh,
Actually, that's a good.
yeah, I'm doubling down on the claim that Joe Biden is not going to finish his term, and that in 2024, Kamala Harris is losing, or whoever they get to run as the Democratic nominee is going to lose.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm doubling down on people becoming more informed and people becoming more conscious and mindful and
Mm-hmm.
getting more in touch with their community. Because as this pressure that these authoritarians, these fascists, because that's what they do, they have public private partnerships. That is the definition of fascism. As
Yeah.
this pressure increases, that increases our response to
Mm-hmm.
be more conscious, to be more grounded and in touch with our community and be less reliant on them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm doubling down on.
Okay. Yeah. Um, you're, this is something that we have to all double down on. And I wanted to ask you this in kind of a follow up question. Do you really think that Democrats are actually failing, or this is really they're really trying to make it look like they're failing when actually that was their goal the whole time?
Yeah, of course. Like they're succeeding in their actual job with their real bosses, the ruling class.
Yeah.
So they're not the the thing about how they're like, what they're told, what they tell us that they work for us is
Mm-hmm.
an illusion. They're not actually working for us. They're working for the same people that pay the team that they pretend to be fighting against.
Yeah.
Everything is theatrics. So they're succeeding in trying to keep the theatrics going. They're succeeding in actually serving this ruling class, as we saw in 2020, the biggest transfer of wealth in human history. Goods
Mm-hmm.
are becoming more expensive. Censorship is increasing. All the things that this ruling class wants.
Mm-hmm.
Fear mongering about other working class people, which is what the AOCs and the Marjorie Taylor Greens both do. Oh, it's these communists. Oh, it's these racist fascists. Those
Mm-hmm.
are the people you should be afraid of. When the reason why we have this is because of that lack of transparency, that lack of education, that lack of information.
Mm-hmm.
From birth, we are kept confused. We're taught to be little drones in schools. Schools are factories for indoctrination.
Yeah.
So this is something my friend Marcus, so I think he's in the chat right now. Shadowban
Mm-hmm.
also said this, that we are taught to be little authoritarians.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of us are like, oh, you can't say that. That's why we see these like Anna Kasparians and everyone saying that, oh, this is why this is not correct. Those people should be censored. They're being an authoritarian rather than being an understanding and compassionate person,
Yeah.
trying to build that understanding. And if they're wrong on something, inform them.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So here's a fun question. What is one food that Franco cannot live without?
Damn. When I was so sad because when I was a kid I loved pizza, but then I got gastritis because of how I would eat in college, eating at like 3 a.m. and also just doing things that just weren't healthy for my body that ended up effing me up. Um, as a kid, I couldn't live without pizza. I couldn't live without ice cream. But now both those things put a toll on my body. Now I couldn't. I would, if I were to tell you 2 months ago, I would say I can't live without rice and beans. But I was eating too much of that, so now that's affecting me. Uh, Blueberries, I can't live without blueberries.
Wow.
Blueberry is like is very it's medicinal for me. Bananas also. It's not a food that's very acidic, so it's good for my gastritis.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, healthy foods like that, fruits like blueberries, bananas, strawberries. I can't live without those.
That's
Fruit
good.
drinks. Hmm.
That's real good. All right, I'm gonna get you in trouble. What's your favorite curse word?
I don't know. Is cuck a curse word? I've had a lot of fun saying that, using that word to this to like go after people like Birdie, etc.
What the cuck?
Cuck, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
or cunt.
Oh my goodness. Oh, okay.
What about you? What's your favorite curse word?
Oh man. Um, the word fuck is just a universal word.
It's so relieving, like when you're upset and then you say that,
Yeah, especially
or
when you
you're hurt.
like if you stub your toe, you're like ah. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It does. Yeah, it's a good one. Um, you know what? And I also love, and I have to thank white people for this one. Horse shit. I love it.
Horseshit.
It is a great. It's a great like instead of saying because we black people we say bullshit and we put emphasis on the B like bullshit but sometimes just to throw things off you go horse shit. That's horse shit. And next thing you know, it's it it brings people more attention. You're like, you said horse shit? Yeah, yeah.
Horseshit, donkey
Mhm.
balls is also fun to say. This isn't a curse word, but saying bootlicker is also fun to say.
Yeah,
A
it's
lot
fun.
of people could be called a bootlicker.
Yeah. All right. So like 3 minutes left. Okay. So last question.
Hmm.
You're on your deathbed and you're reflecting on your life. What is one thought you want people to remember about you?
Um, to remember to be more spiritual, and
Mm.
to always, as I say, like stay informed, both with the material world and also the spiritual world. That will help us be more objective people, more understanding people, more compassionate people, more conscious. That will
Mm.
reduce harm to the world. Is improving the human mind, and helping us realize that we're more than just a physical body. Like you are a special person. So that's what I want people to remember.
That was beautiful. That was beautiful. I just want to thank you for coming, dude. This was an awesome conversation.
Yeah,
Um,
man, I loved it.
yeah, yeah,
Had a
yeah. It
lot
was
of
just
fun.
great.
I love the questions at the end,
Yeah.
which reminds me, because you asked about like something that I can't live without in terms of food. We were
Mhm.
talking about like a cookout or something that we could all have when we were on with Nick and Sabby and everyone. We should have a live stream cookout with everybody in independent media showing up,
Oh,
and
bro,
that would be so
bro,
fun.
don't get me started because you're Peruvian and I know you good do some good Peruvian food too.
Hmm.
You'll bring that over.
Yeah, Fiorella and Johnny will throw it down too. They're also Peruvian.
Oh my
Uh,
goodness. Look, I'm gonna embrace all your food. Look at me. I look like I embrace food too, don't I? So I would love. Oh man, we got to do something because the thing is that if we really, because I really want us to show, in real life that we have solidarity with one another, and what better than to break bread with one another.
yeah.
I think that is a great idea. Nick has been talking about it a lot too. I would love to do something like that, and if we can get like something together where we can get all, we can all talk about it in the background. But yeah, I also everybody just to let you guys know, I only got like 15 seconds left. But if you guys look in the description, I also have Franco's Twitter as well as his channel and the channel to MCSC also in the description. If you guys can subscribe to Franco on Rockfin as well, that'd be great. He is an amazing journalist and commentator, and I am so happy to have him here. Thanks so much, Franco.
Thank you, James. I really appreciate those kind words, and I had a lot of fun. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Love you guys so much. And don't forget to stay informed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and everybody, I just want to give a shout out to everybody, especially Uncle Warren and Noli and Troy and all these people are so lovely. And you guys are amazing. Thank you so much for watching. This is literally the biggest live that I've had since I started.
Oh, snap.
So that means y'all really love Franco.
Good luck to you also, or that you're growing a lot also.
I'm
Um,
trying. I'm trying.
five
I'm
over
observing
500
you all.
subs,
Hmm?
over 500 subs already. That's a lot.
Yeah, I just
Congratulations
hit
to you.
550 today. Yeah,
Damn.
yeah, it's growing, but I also, I the growth isn't necessarily to be known; it's to spread the message further. You
Hmm.
know, because I that's really all I want. I don't really care if I'm known that much. I really just want the message of like what you were conveying about people knowing what the objective truth about the world is and what the history, the accurate history of everything has been, so that anything that has a negative accurate history, we can, as a society, move away from it, and anything that positive that we used to do back then, we can start back up again.
Hmm.
That's what I want. And so if we can, if I can grow big enough so that people start to know all these things as a fact, then and then we can work from there. And that's one of the reasons why I want to grow.
Hmm.
um Other than that, I really don't. I mean, well, I don't mind doing reaction videos, but that's about it. So
Yeah, just having fun with it then, and the message. I like how you think the message is more important than the actual personality.
yeah,
I stand by that also.
yeah, thank you so much, everybody. If you're not subscribed to Franco, what the hell are you doing? All right, so
Thank you very much, James. And if you're
thank
not
you.
subscribed to James, I don't know why you're here and not subscribed.
Think about your life, like question it. What have you been doing? And yes, I promised you cookies, but I can't give them through the screen, at least not now. But once again, if you like my content and you wish to support me further, you can buy me a coffee. That's on the Chiron here, coffee.com/Jaybefaunt. Um, Also, it's in the link in the description below. And I just want to wish you all wellness, peace, and love, chicken grease, cookies, soul glow, whatever floats your boat, whatever you guys like. So I want to say have a wonderful day. Oh, by the way, drink water.
Mm.
I know y'all out here surviving just on coffee and wine. Drink some water. Tell them to drink some water, Franco.
Drink water. That's another food that I can't live without. Water.
Well, that's for damn sure. Neither can I. Yeah.
Yeah. Marcus
Speaking
says
of,
he'll bring ribs or Puerto Rican food to the cookout.
do this to me, man. I haven't eaten yet.
Yeah, same, man. Talking about this is making me hungry.
We're gonna do this. Speaking of water,
Ah, I see that.
yeah, yeah.